And we're back. Yes, it's Planet Collingwood. After 6 days and 22 hours, we have returned. My name is Monty Dean. You are on Revolution Radio, Studio A. Welcome. I've been running about because I had to go feed my cat and open the door and all that stuff. I'm sharing too much. Anyway, a big thank you. Oh, hang on. Oh, I had to burp as well. A big thank you to Tony, why not, and the Y-Files. And if you enjoyed the last 2 hours, which unfortunately I missed because I've been watching a Columbus movie, and then I was dragged into the green room with two wonderful gentlemen who I will introduce momentarily. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to freedomslips.com or revolution.radio and donate what you can, because we're 100% listener supported, 100% volunteered, just 100%. I think we're the longest running crowdfunding project on the internet until someone tells me I'm wrong. Hello, chat room. I'll get to you in a moment. Jeez. Thought I'll just have a quiet show, and the chat room's going off like a frog on a sock, like in a fry pan. Anyway, when you're at the website, buy some merchandise, then pop into the chat room. I'm going to do my romper room impression now. I can see Blasphemous Buddha and Stardust Man and Batsman and Tahoe Guy and Planet Flippy. Dave Scott, who's on the other show. Please don't change over. Oh, Cortex. Cortex there, but you're not in here. Interesting, Cortek. I know what side your bread is buttered on. Anyway, Mr. Rowe, of course. All hail the Rowe Nation. So, yeah, awesome people. Let's have a moment in the sun. Let's make fun of a lot of things. So let's go, Brandon. But before that, I'd like to bring on our guests that we have so far. And we'll just do a quick fire round questionnaire. So I've been joined by our California correspondent, the mechanic. How are you, sir?
I'm great. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Please calm down. You're going to hurt yourself. You may pull something there. You sounded way too exciting.
Here, let me pull the carrot out real quick.
Hey, easy there, Tiger. We've also been joined by John Wayne, not the actor. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Our Midwest correspondent.
Yeah, east of the Rockies.
Yeah. Yeah, and that works in Canada too. I've looked at a map, ladies and gentlemen. And a local boy, another Victorian, who will become a second-class citizen in weeks to come because we're run by a fascist tyrant. Pony, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't waste 35 seconds building you up there. Yeah, I'm all right. So there you go. And I'm sure Cortek will join us. Well, actually, I'll just add him now to save time. So, gentlemen, where would you like to start? Because it's been an interesting week. New South Wales, we actually had segregation day on Monday because they've got the vaccine passports here in Australia. So, a medical apartheid, yay. So, first, it used to be the blacks and the Jews ostracized. Now it's the healthy.
Well, I mean, this is where they're going to take everything, right? And then we see it, and we've been calling it out for quite some time. And I don't know, man. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with what they're getting away with for much longer. I saw a video, just real quick, of Nancy Pelosi being heckled. And to a point, hey, look, it is kind of refreshing to see some of these people, hey, man, being called out for what they are. I played a video last Saturday of somebody in your governance over there, and it was some of the most evil, like snarling looking man saying, if you don't take the stab, then you're not going anywhere. What if they have to work? Well, if you don't take the shot, they're not going to work. Yeah. But
yeah, well, which is kind of interesting because before the election in Canada, Justin Trudeau, or I like to call him by his real family name, Justin Castro, he was being jeered, and they weren't throwing rocks yet, but he was basically run out of suburbs while he was on the hustings and trying to do the old campaigning. And if you remember, who's the one that looks like the Predator? The senator that he basically incited violence. Waters?
Maxwell. Not Max.
Maxine.
Yeah. Maxine Waters.
Waters.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's basically telling all the Democratic people, if you see these people in restaurants or the gas station, you tell them, and yeah. And it's like, okay. And so now you're seeing other people basically pointing out, now, that footage that you sent of Nancy Pelosi being chased off the street, it is in Texas. No surprise there. But being called a communist and everything else like that, because when we were having a chat before the show, the hypocrisy of the media, like the lie, the fake reality that they're putting forward in the media doesn't correlate with what actually is happening. Like Bill Hicks did a sort of like a reverse joke about that back in 1990, where you watch CNN, it's death, war, famine, AIDS, death, war, famine, AIDS. And then you look out your window and it's like, where is all this happening? Now it's the other way around, where CNN's like, oh, no, it's fine, and Trump's a racist, and a man wearing a red hat is clearly a Nazi. And then you go outside and your neighborhood's burning down because BLM have decided to express themselves.
Peacefully, mind you, peacefully.
Oh, yeah, mostly peacefully. Yeah, mostly peaceful.
Mostly.
And, like, the whole insurrection thing, it is the worst day in United States history. Really? Have you seen 9/11 where 3,000 people died? Right. And it's I've been working it out. I put forward to you gentlemen that the insurrection was actually inside the Congress, and it went through, and those people who were let in were supposed to be a distraction so the real insurrection could go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there was a red flare fired from the top of the building.
Well, we could talk about 270 electoral votes at 3:30 a.m.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we're watching it. I don't think it was. I don't know if on my show was it a Tuesday. I can't remember. But yeah, the numbering of it is like, we don't live in a fake simulation. Yeah, but it's a hologram of some sorts, because how can you, like, even if it wasn't meant, that's still weird synchronicity / coincidence. 240 at 3. Biden allegedly got the votes at 3:33 a.m. or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, he got 270 electoral votes at 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Now, and some people say, "Oh, that's a coincidence," but people like myself. Wait, let me finish. It works out well for us. Like people for us, like myself and Mechanic, it's like, yeah, that's okay if it happened once, but we're into 10,000 coincidences now. Come on, like it's like, really, it's like either the creator is trolling us, or someone is not manipulating, but they're using energy in numbers and so on and so forth. So just saying it's a coincidence.
Coincidences, right?
14 days to stem the curve, and now we're 2.5 years in, or 2 years in.
Actually, if Cortek was here, he'd probably tell me it was like week 85 to flatten the curve. And Tony, you'll love this. Today is day 70 of our 7-day lockdown.
True. Doesn't feel like it at all.
Yeah, I know. We've just gotten used to it. It's like, oh, we're coming out of lockdown. Oh, but I just got used to this. You might have to go and be social and, well, hang on, no, I'm not vaccinated. I'm staying here, people.
Well, my goodness. I mean, how can such things be allowed to get away with? Complacency, yeah. But I mean, I think now everybody's beginning to find that common ground. I've been speaking of, like, hey, man, we all better get together and do something quick, or we won't have a single form of freedom at all.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean this is for the listeners, not you, John. That doesn't mean that total anarchy and I should not care about my fellow man and woman and child. It's basically allowing you the freedom of choice. And the way that the media and the government's like, if you're protesting the lockdowns and the mandatory vaccination, you're clearly don't care, you're selfish, and everyone else. You want everyone else to die. It's like, well, no, because like the lockdown, the response from the government to this virus is completely overblown and being used for totalitarian stuff. But that doesn't mean that we get out of the lockdowns. It doesn't mean we ignore the elderly or the compromised. It's actually, we care about them as well. But what I have to add someone to the call, so I'll say a question and you can guys answer it. Apart from COVID deaths, and I know this is a 2-hour conversation of who, what, and he dropped out of a plane. Oh, COVID death. Yeah, all right. What is the negative side of things of lockdowns? What else has been done to the public? Like suicides, mental illness, all that type of stuff.
Right. I mean, that's why I was just going to say, I mean, wouldn't a shorter list of what has, or, on the opposite of the question you posed,
the shorter list would be what hasn't been done, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, now Cortex walks in. Not even hello.
Sorry. I thought I'd slip in the back door, and then I typed that, and it sounded wrong. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Cortek is a second-class citizen, so we have to rebuff him occasionally. It used to be the Africans and then the Jewish, but now it's the healthy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and get on a.
The healthy and
I'm not going to try and get on a bus.
The pure bloods, Cortex, the pure bloods.
What are you going to do? It seems sus AF, and I mean, trust your gut, I guess.
Well,
nice to see you guys, John Mechanic. Nice to see you guys.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, if the vaccines work, why have passports? And if the vaccines don't, and if the vaccines don't work, why have passports? It's not about health at all.
The passports can't work if the vaccine doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. No one's thinking logically.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The passports don't work because there's only 2 options with the vaccine. Sometimes they work, so sometimes you have a passport. No, that's not how. Also, Israel, not a big fan of the government. Love their people. I'm for free Israel and free Palestine. You can see the bind I'm in. But people, you have to get a shot every 4 months or something. So that 60% of the double jabbed are now technically unvaccinated in their model or their system because they need a third jab booster. And it's like, okay, at what point are people going to wake up? It's like, I've had my 53rd jab. I'm well. Okay. Not bad for an 18-year-old. Thank you. It's like, at what point are people going to go, wait a minute? And of course, we'll be ignored. Have you noticed that, for decades, going back to David Icke in the 90s, Alex Jones. I'm not jealous of Alex Jones. I'm upset that everyone else just believes that Alex Jones is the alternative media and no one else exists. But, the warnings that have been put forward for over a decade and then it happens, it's like, how did we get here? Well, a certain word I can't say on radio, but we're still being ignored now.
Well, I mean, people, we have been warned for a long time and speaking truth to power. And at the beginning of all this station here was well ahead of the bell curve. And, we've called it out for everything for what it was. And I find it interesting and amazing on the same aspect that us and ourselves and doing what we're doing with the alternative media, if that's what we'll call it. I mean, I call it the real news, honestly. But we force the hand of the Ministry of Smoke and Mirrors to have to pick up a topic and carry it, just so therefore they can, dig their hole a little bit deeper with the narrative that they're trying to put forth. See, we lend credence to validity and truth and fact. It's not a conspiracy theory, man. It's an actual true godforsaken outright conspiracy, what they're doing. But we're ahead of the curve.
Even if you say, but there's no conspiracy. No, there's not. But they seem to be acting like they're following the same plan. What a coinky-dink.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem like any kind of facts are getting headway. Even if you could come up with the whole thing. Well, I've got the device that was the initiator for all the demolition charges in 9/11, and it wouldn't matter.
Have you seen that?
What I'm saying is, it seems like it's a last ditch attempt by a network to try and keep a hold of some kind of semblance of control, and it just seems so desperate. That's why. It doesn't feel like, it feels like this is going to be a last stand, and they can just hold on until the last bullet or something. And it's not. It's just this seems to just go on for so long. I don't understand the stupidity. Why?
Hey, Cortek, could you move that chair? Could Could you, real quick, could you move that chair from over there over to there while the band's playing so we can, get people more comfortable here on the Titanic?
I want a really good view of the iceberg. Thanks for that. Yeah. Pony, go ahead.
I was just going to say they've caught the flu. He's come out and said he's just a patsy, and Jack Ruby just shot him. Shit, it's over.
Ah, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's it's fascinating people that have woken up politically, where Daniel Andrews is a tyrant, and we have to fight back against tyranny and everything else like that. And it's like, we've been telling you this for decades. This is going to happen. Oh no, conspiracy theories are full of it, and they're batshit crazy. And I'm like, but you're living in a conspiracy right now, because the conspiracy is. Yeah. The conspiracy is they'll release a bioweapon and bring in medical martial law and get everyone on a technical a digital passport, and you'll go to a credit system. Oh no.
Yeah. I don't think they really thought it through though. Have you seen the new James Bond movie? It's again
no, not yet.
No, I mean it's not actually so no one's seen it. But it's predictive programming all again. The plot is something about some nanovirus where people get sick, all this kind of stuff. And I didn't go and see Titanic because I knew how it'd end, so I'm not in a rush to see this one.
Well, Titanic, yeah. I mean, everybody praised Titanic. Meanwhile, you got this like pompous, arrogant female, and then this guy, obviously, Titanic. We all know what happened on the Titanic, right? Do we understand this? Who really died on the Titanic? Who really took it down?
I'll answer it by going, you mean the Olympia?
Yep. That should be.
Well, 19 bankers, right? 19 bankers went down with the Titanic, and everything they knew and wanted to do went down with it.
And the next ship that went down that got us into a major war was the Lusitania, which was torpedoed by a German U-boat.
Actually, no, it wasn't, because they went and found the wreck, and the explosion pattern is all the metal is outward, so it was actually explosives inside. Yeah, and it's like, we found the Lusitania. Oh, we should get great footage of where the torpedo. Oh dear God. Oh yeah, we found it. Nothing happened.
Keep moving.
Yeah. Let's go back to the Titanic. Okay. It's in half. It's like, really?
Wasn't JP Morgan involved in the old Olympia as well? Something along those lines?
I'm sure it was. I mean, look,
it was the worst insurance scam to go wrong, because apparently, was it the California? The ship that was supposed to be was too far away, and they were waiting for certain flares, and it was the wrong color, and so they were over the horizon. Well, they couldn't see the boat, and so they waited too long, and that's why apparently all the people slowly died. However, you know how these people work. It's multi-level, where it was the rich and famous, and so they got rid of the people that were going to go against the Federal Reserve Act, and so happy conclusion of that is like, 15, 14 people that wouldn't. Yeah,
here we are.
Yeah. Hey, did you know, Cortek? Did you know the income tax was temporary?
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's only been a century.
The fact of just knowing that gives a little bit of hope that we can get rid of it. I mean, this would be to live in a world where it's more important to repeal laws that are unjust than to write new ones to make your ego feel good when you leave office.
I recently saw footage of Kerry Packer, very rich man, owned television stations, media, everything else like that. I think it was 1986. He was brought up on tax evasion, and he's basically gone, I followed the rules. These are your rules. Say. And then he goes on. He goes on, and it's like, instead of creating new laws, why don't you repeal old ones? And the whole room is completely quiet.
Yeah. From politicians to telco companies, possibly doing damage to people through technology that they haven't really fully tested yet and don't know really what they're doing, apart from trying to make a buck out of it. They all rely on it's well within the law. It's legal.
Yeah, so was slavery, and for the Black Lives Matter people that are listening, or one of you, who got rid of slavery in the United States? Oh, that was white people. So why are you having a go at white people? And also, how's this for history? The United States was created, and it was 13 colonies, and I think in 4 years, 7 of the states actually outlawed slavery. And so when you say, "Oh, you're a racist a racist country," it's like, yeah, but it was only. I thought you were
going to say something else then.
I know, don't worry. What nation? Hey, see, that's a good cover. Fauci? No. Vagina? Anyway, it was just the southern states that kept it, basically. It's just an observation. I've been reading the chat rooms.
Who brought it back? I mean, okay, look what happened over there in Libya, and who was in charge of all that? Oh, that's right, Hillary Clinton. And not too long after that big debacle over there, they're selling blacks on slave blocks. I mean, it's a fact, you know.
Yeah, slavery's still today, and for whatever reason, Americans, a small group of Americans, are complaining about slavery that ended over 150 years ago. Now, obviously, you took to the civil rights movement of, no, really, we want to get rid of slavery. Yeah, a bit slow. Yeah, but that's the system and controlling mechanism. But there's still slavery in Asia and Africa today.
Slavery even into the people that have to go do the 9 to 5 for the 70 hours a week. You know what I mean?
Well, how about this? Anyone that has a birth certificate is technically a slave.
True that.
I never understood the whole. But you got a birth certificate. You agreed to this. I was born yesterday. And I was given this option. Like, you were born yesterday with the birth certificate? Yes, I was born yesterday. And then you said, they handed you over. What is it? Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, it is if there's 2,000 of them. Like, remember that scene in The Simpsons where they're reading the old charter? And Chief Wiggum goes, "Hey, I'm supposed to get a pig and 2 bucks and wenchins every week."
How about a revision of that? And when we become adults in the eyes of the law, we get to review whether we want to be part of it or not.
Yeah. I just remembered as well, just Darth Sidious saying, "Oh, we'll make it legal." I'm like, well, Star Wars once again proves it's telling the truth. Really. But, like here in Melbourne, you look outside and it's quite nice and sunny, and I would rather hang out with people. I could go to Ponies and test out his pencil holder. So,
you can goose step your way over here, mate.
Yeah. And it's like, I usually would go, because the British comedy influence that I have, they always make fun of Germans. But I know a German in another group called the Unlovers. I have to clean that up for radio. The Unlovers Unite. And I've stopped doing it because I feel like I'm insulting him, because he's German, has a wonderful accent, but he's not a Nazi, which is not nationality. That's an ideology. Like, wasn't the Attorney General in the United States? Oh, Antifa is just like an idea or not a movement. Well, the idea is out of hand, dude.
They didn't call themselves the Germans, did they? Someone else labelled them Germans.
Well, actually, yeah, they're Deutschlanders. Their country is actually Deutschland. That's the British aristocracy ruling the planet, because Japan is actually called Nippon, and that's why Australians used to call, stupidly, all Asians Nips.
Well,
they're not all Japanese.
Most Germany is quite conscious of it.
Originally, the Gauls, Gauls, isn't that technically the Germans were the Gauls?
Yeah.
It's fascinating in history. You just look back and I can see why the New World Order hates the German, because most of Europe started out being Germanic tribes, and the French come from the Franks. No, they're not all called Frank. That would be really annoying in battle. Quick, Frank's down. So, which one?
I have to finish, Monty, what you started before. It's a bit nippy today. I might hit the slopes while I eat this coon cheese. So.
That was
what?
Yes.
I've seen the statistics, and apparently 30% of Australians are part-time racists. That makes the other 70%
part-time racist. Can we address the slopes issue? What do you got going on?
That is it's a Pony was just doing an example. He wasn't actually
full-time.
Yeah, and yes, I know. But you're a white man. I shouldn't listen to you.
Am I?
In the eyes of the law, yes. Because of I have no idea where the insult slope comes from, but it refers to Asian people. It's stupid.
Yeah, I was trying to go away. Go ahead. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah,
what if Pony doesn't identify as that? What if he doesn't identify as that? Huh?
Well, that is true. I mean, you would think that you would call people with a Roman nose slopes because of that, ski jump of a nose, which I saw someone actually put up on social media. I always thought my nose was a bad feature of my face, and it was this girl, and then but then I realized it's my bloodline, and she goes into profile. And then there's all these photos of statues and just regal amulet, and it's like, it's not a deformity. It's a royal bloodline trait, basically, and it should be actually celebrated instead of attacked. But we're dealing with humans, so yeah. And also, one of my favorite bands, She Had, have just released a new album called Old Gods, and the singer is wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. I'm like, I hope I don't meet you. It's like, why are you supporting a terrorist organization? Have you heard of David Dorn? He was a black chap who died defending. Anyway. Yeah, it should be. Unfortunately, Black Lives Matter, a Marxist organization. Apparently, it should be called Some Black Lives Matter, and
communist. Yep.
Yeah, and I maintain it should have been Black Lives Also Matter, and we wouldn't be having these problems. See, I haven't had one of those Planet Collingwood pauses for a while.
Weren't She Had called Jihad?
No, they were watching June.
When 9/11 came out, they thought it was a bit close. They were going to change their name, weren't they?
Yeah, in the movie June, which is David Lynch, and it's great for what it is for mid-'80s. It's like, wow. One of the witches actually says they'll have a jihad, but the way she said it sounds like she said she had, and they thought, oh, that's a great name. They have no idea what a jihad was at the time, and they're like, oh, that's a great name. And so they called She Had. So they invented a word. And then after 9/11, they were trying to break into the American market, and some cockhead, technical term, in the American record company said, that's too close to jihad, so that's not going to really do well in the Midwest. So
I'm not personally offended, but I can think of other people that could be personally offended. Ugh.
Yeah, it's like the white people telling everyone what the black people want, and then a black person says, "Dude, shut up." And it's like, oh no, see, like the whole thing with did we mention Dave Chappelle last week? Was that happened in the last 7 days?
No, his new thing? No.
Yeah. Oh, we can talk about Mr. Chappelle. Apparently, he's exercising white privilege.
Okay.
What?
People identify with being a refrigerator these days. So, is it entertaining?
Well, I am actually. I've mentioned it once, and I'll mention it again to reinforce it. I actually am a roundabout from the 1800s.
Nice. Got any bunting?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out my pronouns for that. How can I be a Victoria, an 1880 roundabout? What's my pronoun?
I put poles and bunting. I put poles and bunting around it. It works.
Yeah. Oh, there's
like
a lovely.
There's
a bandstand in the middle where you can have a brass band playing. It's wonderful.
I got into trouble trying to put a horse and cart around it. Stuff like that. Too much processing power.
Well, I mean, the one thing I don't get is, check it out. So we had 9/11, right? Yeah, that happened. And who was the boogeyman for the longest amount of time? Oh, that's right. People from the Middle East. And what are we doing now? We're flying them right into the country. I
thought it was the Bushes.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was Tim Osman. No, Osama bin Laden. The CIA asset.
Right.
So, yeah. Even if I don't know when he died, there was reports he died in February 2002. But then you have, I think his name's Robert O'Neill, who's actually one of the SEAL team. I think SEAL Team 6, one of the Navy SEALs that went in to Pakistan and shot someone. Even if that guy was Osama bin Laden. If you follow the narrative, it's like, okay, yeah, you shot him. Why did you bury a Muslim at sea?
I was about to say, what about the expedited sea burial? That wasn't sus at all.
Yeah, because one of the worst terrorists in human history, who actually perpetrated one of the greatest terrorist attacks on U.S. soil. Oh, we have to respect his religion.
Yeah, can't take any photos. Can't take any photos of him. But did you see the size of the mission accomplished banner behind me?
Yeah, we sewed him. We sewed him into a flag and threw him off an aircraft carrier. Because that's not in the Muslim religion at all.
Yeah, we didn't take any photos or do any autopsies out of respect.
The Middle Eastern countries do all kinds of burials at sea. Being in the middle of the sand in the desert all the time. So
exactly, yeah. Their respect for water and all that type of stuff. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. That's why we're here, Planet Collingwood, just to release some pressure on we've gone through tragedy and we're going to comedy now. And a mechanic, I know you mentioned you've got 13,000 videos of Biden being Biden. We won't go through them now because that used to be funny. Now it's just terrifying. Like, why? Right. Where's his family?
What do you think will come first? His basically just dying from old age, or United States Congress passing a 25th Amendment? Their articles of impeachment have already been published. So there is that process that's already started, but I do believe the 25th Amendment here will take place. This guy's already a laughing stock. Come on.
Well, apparently Kamala Harris has actually been told not to enter the phone of "Is he gone yet?" because it's giving a bad look. Well, you heard the latest stuff. You've seen her. They hired child actors when she went to NASA. Nothing sus. Isn't this amazing? Yes, it is. Is the check cleared? No. Well, keep. Can I do that? I need to emote.
I'm still trying to process the NASA thing. So expand on that. She was what?
She went to a telescope, and it was basically a photo opportunity. Yeah. And instead of getting, I saw this on Crowder. Stephen Crowder pointed out, instead of actually having real kids and a real reaction. They hired child actors to play along with Kamala because, isn't it fantastic? And she's looking directly at the sun. It's like, that's my Trump joke. My only joke about Trump is like, yeah, he's a billionaire. He was running the country. He looked directly at a solar eclipse. But apart from that, but she actually looked through a telescope, and it's because apparently they're using a telescope to look at the sun. And it's like, bit bold. Does someone hate Kamala? It's like, because if they got it wrong, her eye will get burnt out.
Now try the other eye.
Yeah. I recently watched all the Naked Gun movies. It's like, I can't see a thing. Use your open eye, Frank. Oh, all right, yeah. And that topic, as well as I watch all the special features. Leslie Nielsen, who plays Frank Drebin, pointed out it was never mean-spirited. Like, he used that example. It's not like, Frank, use your open eye. It was done in a positive aspect, so you can still use comedy, even though, it's still funny.
It's funnier because it doesn't seem like that's the first time it's happened.
Yeah, it's like, why is Chavez down in the red light district? Sex, Frank? Not right now, Ed. Yeah, stuff
We've got
like
something
that,
to look forward to, Monty. Apparently, we're going to the moon now.
Yeah, well, we're sending a rover. That's a small mechanical device, not a member from the Scouting Association. Like, here's Dave. He's a rover. Help me! I don't want to go to the moon.
Want to learn a knot? I know them all.
Slipknot. Oh, they're a great band. Get out. Yeah, because now this whole thing about Australia and the US, our treaties and ties and friendships getting strengthened, and now NASA needs an Australian to build a remote-controlled car to drive around the moon.
What?
Yeah, I reckon we can do that pretty easy.
Well, that's fine. Go for it. The thing is like our countries have stood beside each other for quite some time over some pretty tumultuous times, and I think people need to continue to get together and come band arm in arm against this oppressive force they're trying to put forth. I mean,
well,
Yeah.
I see. For like quickly going back to the rover, or just the moon, like, the moon landings are fake. I think we went to the moon. What was shown was fake because being pedantic and split hairs. However, if we send something back to the moon that sends back pictures, which is very easy to do, because I mean, if they're doing it at Mars, which is further, take a photo of the flags. All the flags. That is, yeah. See, I'm just using the ing and using the other word. Take a photo of the loving flags. Does that work? Yeah, right. Because wouldn't you think? Yeah, just one photo of the flags with the moon in the background. That ends that conspiracy theory right there.
Something Mike Ringley said once was, he said, the Van Allen belt, it's like a like almost rotating or fluctuating or rotating kind of radiation. Mm-hmm. Maybe that could have been responsible for like wiping film or something like that. Or I don't know, but it seemed plausible at the time.
Well, it does make sense.
There would be an alternative backup just in case that was a risk that they didn't know whether even anything could get through it.
Apparently the first moon landing, they had color film, and then one of the geniuses, Buzz or Neil, let's just point the color film directly at the sun and burnt out the lens. I'm like, well done.
What if
that was Buzz?
What if it's got 144 hertz refresh rate? Have you seen the footage that people have shot over the years where there's an anomaly that sweeps across the moon? It's like a wave of some sort, and it usually happens in twos within 5 minutes of each other. I haven't watched it for a while, but it is a very strange.
What were the search terms be if we were to look for this on YouTube?
I mean,
moon wave.
Sorry, Crow 777 used to do a lot of videos about it. Again, it's a wave that sweeps over the moon. It's an anomaly. I don't know what it means or what it is, but check it out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
Crow 777 at YouTube. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and you could try. I sound like Alex Jones. Try this. Search this.
Playing at home.
The moon is a hologram. Try that.
The moon is an anomaly.
I think that's one of the reasons why they supposedly picked the spot and named it the Sea of Tranquility, because there was some anomalous, lights or gases or something happening. Reportedly,
I don't know if it's still on the. I don't know if it's still on the internet, but I think a satellite. I think it may be Chinese satellite. Did multiple orbits of the moon and took photos of everything, and they found not metal structures, but like bunker structures. There's a 20-mile high statue on there apparently, and there's all this weird stuff.
William Cooper was one of the first people to publish that in To Behold a Pale Horse. He was one of the first people to go through the like real kind of high def photography at that stage and go through it and say, what are these square bits? It's in there.
And Richard, not Dolan, who's the other one? Richard, his wife was on Revolution Radio. I can't remember his name now. I've gone blank.
Let's call him Richard.
Richard Hoagland, yes, the mighty Richard Hoagland. He's been trolling NASA for so long, going, have you got this? Have you got this? Where's this? Where's this? And he found like there seems to be some type of crystal or glass structures on the moon that looks like 1,000-year-old biodomes, if I can put it that way. Mm-hmm. And that's the first time watching one of his videos is the first time I actually heard what NASA stands for, which is never a straight answer.
Yeah, there's also like on the crystal side of things, because there's it's structurally as strong as concrete in that environment kind of thing. There's also like these reports of these massive towers that must have been just used to, get off planet a little bit easier or whatever, because they had early probes that had gone through and just lost them all of a sudden. They didn't know really what was going on. You couldn't see them, but it was because they were taken out by these massive towers.
David Wilcock actually shared information So who knows if it's real or not, but I like the story, so I'm going to continue on. They keep finding bases through the solar system that like tables are 50 feet high. And so we aren't the first, which you can sort of sense that, like, since the last ice age, someone's been playing funny buggers. Like the first 6,000 years of history from the ice age are like, oh, we're all cavemen, blah, blah, blah. And then, bam, Samaria at its height. Well, hang on.
Pigs in Spain.
Yeah, exactly. It's like blue chickens will save the planet, and it's
The whole planet's littered with examples of past civilizations.
Oh yeah. If you look in history, I can't remember the names of them, but there's two Egyptian brothers who apparently lived 400 years apart.
Jim and Dave.
Yeah, and like what? what?
You got the Scorpion Kings as well that live for tens, if not 20,000 years, but some say it might be astrological related.
Yeah.
You heard of
Yes.
these ones?
Well,
That's just a Hollywood movie, Pony franchise.
Yeah.
But where did they get the idea from?
You mentioned Lost in Space. Somebody needs to do a voiceover with that robot, danger, Will Robinson, danger, with this vaccination thing.
It ties in pretty.
And get a Dalek on the other side of the call.
Hello, I am your doctor.
Exterminate.
Please roll up your sleeve.
Exterminate.
Roll up your sleeve and accept your jab. It
Danger,
is for
Will
your
Robinson,
health.
danger.
One
Shut
of us.
that robot up.
One of us. Yeah.
Yeah, Robot Wars just went really weird.
The moon's a massive anomaly. It wasn't always there.
NASA, they slammed a probe into it because, nerds, they got to try and get sexual gratification somehow. Why don't we just build like $100,000 worth of probe and slam it into the surface of the moon and see what happens? And the quote is, "It rang like a bell for 20 minutes."
That was the nuke that they sent down after. I think the first one was an accident or something like that, and then they noticed that it resonated, and then they went, "Well, we're gonna have to nuke it then," and it just rung for hours.
Oh, have you heard the Illuminati conspiracy that we're going to try and ignite Jupiter or Saturn? What level of god stupidity are you? Oh, here's an idea. Let's send a nuke to blowing up Jupiter. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. Well, it reminds. Sorry.
Used to say Comet Levy 9 wasn't used and directed and then, disintegrated before it was sent on further into Jupiter to try and ignite it. That's a possibility. See, they've got this new plan or this new operation they're going to do with this thing called DART. It's an acronym. I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but they're going to slam it into Didymos, a small moon-esque type of rock out there somewhere.
Basically, we're playing kamikaze pilot with remote control vehicles.
It's celestial.
It's not that
snooker.
Cool.
It's celestial pool table. Let's just bounce. Oh yeah.
Billiards.
Yeah.
Galactically, it's not
double asteroid redirection test, and it launches soon, and the mission will impact next year at some point, allegedly. Yeah, one to watch for sure, because there is a actual training exercise occurring, I believe, next week to do with an asteroid thing where they stuffed up and part of the asteroid's coming towards us in the exercise mission. So
nothing sus. Like what? That's Is what the 30th time that they're having an exercise mission and it goes live.
Replace exercise with mission with we're really trying to do this in real life mission.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 9/11 was a practice run. 10/10 was a practice run. All this stuff. Wow. Yeah. This is the other thing, because of the internet, stations like this, and just social media, the pattern recognition is so easy now. Where it's like,
they're like chefs. Here's one we prepared earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to save time. But I like that. We'll spend. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, they've been working all this stuff they're doing now since like 91 and 92. And I was talking to the mechanic a while ago on a private call. I was saying, hey, it's interesting how in 91 and 92, that's when Bill Clinton started the Genome Research Project, right, to map the human genome. And then what did we have here in the mid 2000s, mid to early 2000s, somewhere around there, the 23andMe and the DNA decoding sites. Hey, find out where you come and where do you live, and where your ancestors had originated. Well, and then now look what they're doing with this thing they're sticking in people's arms. I mean, it's all some form of a dastardly plan to manipulate humanity to some kind of a degree. And
yes, yeah, but I've decided just then that anything like that is 100% true. It won't work though because they're all idiots. Have you noticed that all these nefarious plans, they still suck? Like, we're being controlled. No, they're trying to control us.
Right.
I'm Pedantic Man.
Still haven't come up with that theme music.
Yeah, we need a nice 10-second sting for Pedantic Man. and when Pedantic Man appears, the audience groans.
I'll work that in.
Oh, he's to ruin everything. Oh, it's not actually a 6.3 bit; it's a 7.8 bit. Those people where oh no, it wasn't an LJ Tirana, it was an LB Tirana. You can tell because the headlights are slightly different. It ran over my boy. Well, I'm just making sure. Go away.
Put your mask on.
Bring it back.
Yeah, just by the way, Tirana is a form of a car from the 1970s. So if I lost a lot of people outside of Australia, that's why.
They're beasts.
Did you say Toronto or Tirana?
Tirana, mate. You got to have a Rana, mate.
I was in a Tirana when I was a teenager, and the person put their foot down, and I was just pressed against the back seat.
Yeah. There's no atheists in foxholes, so there's no atheists in Tiranas either.
Yeah, amazing.
Sweet Lord, stop.
I remember the first ride in a Jaguar XJ8 with a V12 motor. That was a pretty fast car, especially being German engineered.
Oh yeah, I saw there was a Volvo ad. It was like, tired of German techno, try Swedish metal, and a Volvo. And I'm like, oh yeah, sounds good to me.
It's clever.
Well, what do you make of all the planes falling out of the sky and pilots dying in the air and everything, Monty? What? Interesting.
Myocarditis?
Yeah.
The trip, they're already halfway to heaven. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I'm halfway here. Like, well, I'll just continue on. What's the joke? Emo Phillips had a great joke.
Sorry.
No, my grandfather died peacefully in his sleep. Everyone else in the car was screaming.
Right.
So but I mean, it could be just because they rushed the vaccines. This is one theory as well. Not everyone's the same, so you can't administer the same dose to everybody because everyone will react differently. And I think British Airways were stopping vaccinated pilots as well because when different air pressure, you're in a fart tube for 8 hours and you get blood clots, and that could actually affect the heart. And a big shout out to the flight controllers of Florida. Good work, chaps and ladies, because we've gone on strike and 600 flights were cancelled today, but the media will ignore that.
Yeah,
I had a guy who called me, and I befriended him. He was a pilot, and he's got like 35,000 flight hours or something like that, a lot. And even cross-continental flights, or transcontinental from like the West Coast to Tokyo or so on and so forth. And he called, and he left a very mechanic, would you say it was like kind of like a frantic message? I played it for him. I don't have it anymore, but it was really wild because he said,
"No, frantic, no, urgent." Yeah.
Urgent. Okay. Urgent. Okay. Yeah. Urgent's better word than frantic. But okay. So he was in this. Get this. This had to have been like, I think maybe a month and a half ago, somewhere around there. And he said, "Hey man, you need to start telling people this on your broadcast." He goes, he hasn't had the stab. He was flying in an enclosed cockpit. His co-pilot, I guess, had it, and he didn't know about it at the time. And he said about halfway through the flight, he just got ungodly, just kind of ill, just not just right. He goes, it was about 4 hours to finish the flight. He goes, we made it through. I landed the plane. He goes, I got out of there, got home. He goes, I was sick for like 3 weeks. And he brought up about the cabinized pressure and then the recirculation of the air and all this. And then the people that have had it, and they're all in close proximity. He was warning about this for me to get out about a month and a half ago, or
it's very similar to. Yeah, it's similar, not the same, but it's similar to varicose veins, where people, because of the pressure of the air pressure inside the plane, right. And high altitude, because it's obviously the air's thinner up there, and if you, I guess it's also, you can link it to when you're deep sea diving and you come up too quick, and your body doesn't acclimate to the pressure, where you have to go depressurize for a while, so you don't basically.
Too much hydrogen in the blood.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so we're all dancing around the same thing. It's not all exactly the same thing, but it's like, well, I find it interesting. They'll probably use this to stop air travel because the climate change thing's not really working. And then on the flip side, it's like, oh, we can go to boats. It's like, well, the government's not allowing boats to come in.
Airships, Monty.
Yeah, well, actually, someone shared this on social media where a new cargo boat will use sails, and someone cheekily
what
underneath.
What a time we live in.
Yeah, that's like air-powered boats. What a time we live in.
Right. All these different things going on. I want to throw this in there for like thought processes, right? So that volcano going off over there in the Canary Islands, La Palma.
La Palma, yeah, crazy.
Or Cumbre Vieja. That's the actual name of the volcano itself. With all that going off, I've been really paying close attention to the SO2 emissions from that, and it's completely made its way around the whole northern hemisphere a couple times already. I mean, obviously, you can't fly a plane through volcanic ash or anything.
No.
I'm wondering if
see someone try.
Look, the Flintstones did it. All right, they flew up a cork and they corked volcanoes back in the day. All right, and that was prehistoric. Like, we don't got better technology now. Come on.
All we got to do is come up with a big bottle of wine big enough, and then we'll just take it off.
Well, I'll go to my bottle and find out, because the day drinking has set in. It's day. What week is it now? 50, 85.
82.
82. No, it can't be 82 because we did 84 recently.
It's either 81 or 82.
Yeah, all the days blend into the same.
I think it's 82.
But I'm almost wondering, though, if that might not be another reason, and they're trying to validate or give another reason. They're using the ploy of COVID-19 to keep these planes out there because of maybe atmospheric conditions and or emissions from volcanism or something. I don't know.
That actually happened with Iceland, where a volcano was going off chops, and all European air travel will stop because you've got grit and ash, and it just stuffs up the engines, and they'll drop like stones.
Yeah.
And it's I can't remember what, a couple of weeks they paused the flights around. And speaking of climate change, we have to stop man-made CO2. It's like, yeah, but when a volcano erupts, they pump out a year's worth of CO2 in 2 days. What is the answer? You're standing on the joke. You're stepping on the joke. What is the answer to that? Do we tax the mountain? Is that how it works? Like, yeah, Vesuvius still owes money to the Italian government for what happened in Pompeii.
Vesuvius included in national debt.
Yeah,
Not only Pompeii, but Herculaneum. That's another really interesting site, from that cataclysm.
Yeah. I mean, let's go a bit biblical. What actually did happen to Sodom and Gomorrah? I mean, they say that God smited it. It's like, yeah, it could have been aliens with atomic weapons and just wiped them out. So,
well, yeah, I mean, from what I've come to understand, I mean, it's something, atmospherical, sulfurous, obviously. I mean, an asteroid, or the breaking up of an asteroid. That's my belief.
Yeah. There's those deserts over there that have just been turned to glass, which is it, massive heat. Yeah. So we've either done nuclear before or had some.
Not us.
Not us personally.
Well, hey, you got a point there, because Lot's wife, right, was turned to a pillar of salt, and on one of those mountainsides over there, or hillsides or whatever, there's literally an effigy of a person burnt standing there, as how like during the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima, you know, the radiation left a background filter of, you know, I don't know how to say it, right? But you get what I'm saying.
Left that kind of image of the person on the wall behind, kind of thing.
Yes, right. And they actually use that in Battlestar Galactica as well, because Galen Tyrrell goes, that's me, because he's a Cylon and he died 2,000 years earlier when they set off the nukes. And he's standing in front of a wall and there's this black image, which makes sense because the wall gets radiated, but the body stops a certain level of radiation, and so that's how a shadow is created. You are listening to
Flash photography.
Yeah, my mind just went dirty. Why are you wearing a trench coat? Oh, never mind. You're a photographer. You're listening to Revolution Radio Studio A. This is Planet Collingwood. We're halfway. We're going into the change room, suck up some oranges, try and see how we can beat these chaps, and we'll be back on the field just very soon. See you soon.
Right back.
And we're back. We have returned. Well, we didn't really go anywhere. We just sat here and listened to the same messages over and over. Anyway, this is Revolution Radio Studio A. The show is Planet Collingwood. My name is Monty Dean. How are you? You good? Awesome. If you enjoyed the last hour, please go to revolution.radio and freedomslips.com and donate what you can. Click on the Patreon page, $5 here, $10 here. US helps. It's probably about $50, $60 Australian. You know, exchange rate. Huzzah. 100% listener supported. So thank you for all those that actually do help us out, because that's why we're still here. And John Wayne, not the actor, and I started 3 days apart back in 2015, if my memory serves. Doesn't always, but in that one it has. So there you go. I have been joined by John. Well, I hung out like a bad smell, but I started doing a show in January of 2015. That's Pony, by the way, dear listeners.
Hey.
Yeah, I followed Sean David Morton because he was funny and I enjoyed his style of giving information through a comedic bent. Also been joined by the mechanic, and Cortek is stuck in the green room. He's super glued his hand to a juicer, but we'll get back to that soon. So there you go.
These things happen.
Yeah. Well, you sniff glue and you sneeze, these things going to happen. You know, take responsibility for your actions. And yeah, once you're at the website, pop in the chat room. It's going off like a frog in a sock, in a fry pan, which is a visual medium. However, it's sharing information, making people laugh. That's part of the MO here at Planet Collingwood, is we can talk about deep and fantastical stuff through the lens of comedy. So the alphabet agencies have no idea if it's worth picking on me or not. Or they see it, that show's stupid, so they ignore us. So, it's all part of my cunning plan. Oh, Cortek has removed his hand from the juicer and has returned.
It makes me wonder, like, have you heard of people going door to door over there because of somebody had posted something 6 months prior or to that effect in Australia?
Well, speaking of synchronicity, because coincidence, no. Synchronicity, yes. I interviewed a chap called Topher Field a couple of weeks ago, just doing, because a lot of people from overseas, my fan, asked me about what's happening in Victoria, and so I got Topher on to explain. Like, it's nearly 80 minutes of where from the start of from the lockdown up until that actual day, and that's on Wafer Thin Entertainment, which is on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, as well as YouTube. If you want to see what actually the timeline of Melbourne, Victoria is. He was arrested today.
What does he do? He's interesting.
He's a libertarian and a political commentator for the last 12 years.
But you say he was accosted today.
He was arrested today for incitement.
So what comes with that, I guess?
The live stream on Facebook's only a minute and a half, but it shows, I haven't watched all of it, but 2 police officers came to his house, and obviously he was arrested from that. And the way that they're working bail conditions, it's very similar. Same thing happened to Vinnie Eastwood. Bail conditions is you can't go on the internet for a month. as an example, and so they're trying to stop the civil
treating you like a bunch of children.
It's
Go
so
ahead.
Basically,
petty.
yes.
It's so petty.
Yeah.
Incitement is the same charge they charged that you might be familiar with the footage of a young pregnant lady in pink pajamas being arrested by the
Ballarat,
police.
Yeah.
That is
She
the
was the
same
first
charge of incitement on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of a penalty, I guess? And you're saying bail, like, so I'm assuming, this is just my assumptions. Just let me throw it out there and then correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, but they're going to have this hike to the ceiling, right?
The last number I heard was up to $20,000 if it goes to court, up to $20,000 fine. Now, I could be wrong, though, because these are last year's numbers, because I think without a mask, it's a $200 fine. But as the protests continued on, say, in the last 2 months, if you were caught outside of your designated travel zone, yay, police state, if you were caught in the CBD and you wanted to protest, $5,000 fine.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, so they just Yeah, but that didn't stop people. I think it was the brutality from the riot squad that stopped people, because no one wants to say we want freedom and then get shot by. And have you seen those rubber bullets? They're like the size of a Kinder Surprise, and they can. Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen that footage of the 20 or so cops chasing that guy into a lane, and there's like a peach-coloured wall there, and they all just pile into him. Yeah, and one stands out the front looking at if anyone's looking at anyone, seeing if there's anyone filming or anything like that. Like this,
there's usually five police on one person when they're arrested.
Guy's got his hands up.
And even if you surrender, they get you on the ground. 5 cops are standing around them, and the most roughed up, violent way of getting actually handcuffed, as well as having the knee on the back of the neck. Now, does anyone remember 2020? Was it 2020? Yeah. Senor Floyd, the criminal who died from fentanyl overdose.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the same thing. But no one here, and also it's interesting across the planet, there is no governments decrying the police brutality in Victoria. But they're using the same method, because if done correctly, it does hold the person in place. But you think the Black Lives Matter people and all that, or Antifa. No, it's amazing where we're fighting fascism and you're aligning yourself with the establishment. You're not rebelling.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Yeah,
I saw people kind of publish, WHO propaganda, and they thought it was cool because it had a swear word in there. So you realize what you're doing here. And obviously, they didn't at the time.
Basically, if I went into the Star Wars universe, these type of people would say, "But the Empire did nothing wrong." That's the level of
there was no law against it.
Yeah, the Empire did nothing wrong, and that rebellion of terrorists, like Luke Skywalker when he blows up the first Death Star, you can actually you describe whatever happened as a young boy was radicalized by an old religious man, and went on a terrorist mission and blew up a Imperial space station, killing hundreds of thousands of people.
What a legend!
Yeah, I know. Have you seen this terrorist? Now, obviously, they were fighting for fighting evil for good, but
if we're going to use the T word, then there's good terrorists and bad terrorists. Then I guess, isn't there?
There's freedom fighter, and then there's terrorist, and they're usually the same people.
If we're going to persist in using only that terminology,
mercenary contract. It's all the contractor. It's all the same thing. Operating.
Yeah.
Mossad, CIA, MI6, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing about the vaccine passports. Well, if you can have them, but people on the sex offender registry can't have the same tracking because it's against their rights.
Are all of these things on the passport, or is it just poorly thought out?
Yeah. Have you seen the latest thing where I haven't delved into it? It didn't surprise me, but Prince Andrew has had his charges dropped because they're not going to continue with the case.
Oh, surprise.
Yeah. Did Mummy say something?
It's all of these. It's all of these things like these royal commissions and something John Wayne said before about different ways that governments try to look like they're actually doing something to investigate themselves and eventually come around and say, "Well, we've found no corruption. We've investigated ourselves again, and there's absolutely no wrongdoing whatsoever. It's all legal."
Yeah, rules for thee and not for me. Like
Oliver Stone, Oliver Stone. No, it's not Oliver Stone, right? Well,
he's an author, isn't he?
No, I'm thinking of the wrong man. I've got the wrong name, but it's Oliver North. There we go. Okay, for some other reason.
Completely different. Well, you got Oliver right, but completely different people.
Completely different people, right? But Oliver North, and the Rex 84 and all that back in the 80s, and I think it was actually the 70s, and now we're seeing Rex 84 implemented here in the country with these camps and our country being invaded. Well, yeah, they've written about all this.
He was the patsy, the fall guy for the Contra deals and everything else like that. And then 3 decades later, he's got his own talk show.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Right. Well,
yeah, most of this show now is like,
well, it's like George Bush Jr., right? Okay, who was the leader of the country, purportedly, at the time of the 9/11 attacks. What's he doing now on his off time? Well, that's right. He's painting portraits of dead soldiers to give to their families.
Oh, lovely! And his best friend is
soul back.
Yeah, and his best friend is Michelle Obama. So nothing sus.
Is it?
Lord, don't get me started.
That sounds like a convicted murderer sending photos of his victims to the families.
Yeah,
with love, like little messages.
This is what your son looked like, and this is what your son looked like, writhing in pain, and this is what your daughter and son looked like, writhing in pain.
Yeah, it just reminds me of Heath Ledger as the Joker. You really find out someone when you kill them. Do you want to know which of your friends squealed? Oh,
it's the best.
I mean, I still tell you, it's insane the stuff that they're able to do. I saw a video a while ago today, and it was showing the manipulation of the genes of babies born to parents that have been shot in the arm with this thing. And over in some foreign country, I don't know, I'm wanting to say France, but I may be mistaken. They were doing an actual, information saying, hey, look, babies are being born with tails. Okay. And they're up there showing these pictures, and you got the camera flashes going off as they're literally giving this press conference, right?
When was this? This is crazy news. We have seen everything about this insidious program apart from side effects. Which could be like a 2 to 10 year process to see anything. Maybe it's just centered around reproductive systems. Who knows? Sorry.
A lot of Victorians allegedly. I'm going to say that word because if I enter a court of law, I'm in deep poo. They only got the jab so they can go back to work or leave the house. It's coercion. I didn't need to see that. I did, but I didn't. So thanks, John.
He was asking about the babies being affected with this thing, and it's something else.
Like, when did the medical professions like, oh, no, it's okay to jab mothers with anything in the first 3 months? Because not even the mother. I mean, like they and that thing I just sent you. It's got an audio bit. It starts with Bill Gates, right, sitting there saying, well, we put the needle in the arm and we shoot it right into the veins of the babies. It's like, what are you? This guy is flat out evil, man. Yeah, even
he can't
David
even be
Icke,
human.
No. David Icke actually pointed out that the immune system isn't perfected for your environment for the first 2 years of your life, and they want to they want to inject how many vaccines in babies in the first 2 years of their life. Now they're taking a step further as injecting them in utero while they're inside. And it's like, what level? And also remember that senator, I think it was in Baltimore, He basically said, once the baby's born, we'll decide if we'll terminate the child or not. It's like, dude, that's murder. The baby's born. You can't abort a pregnancy after it's born because the woman's not pregnant. That's a human being.
Well, it's just full out Satanism, man. I mean, I believe from what I've come to understand, and these are actual sacrifices. And I'd say even the people that are dying from this thing right now are actual human sacrifices.
Do you think early on when you know, back in Greek and Roman days and all those early days, when you would have kind of these stories of these labyrinths with kind of half man, half bulls in there, it's like just the same old thing going round and round?
No, I mean, it's, look at Osiris and the other Egyptian gods, right? I think they're doing the same thing that's been done before. And that's where you get to, like, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. I think that's exactly what it is. I think we've been here before, and they have done this gene manipulation, editing, toying around with the chimeras.
Is that us trying to do what was done to us, but we don't know how it's done, so we keep stuffing it up?
Oh, well, Mark Twain has a great quote that I use a lot. History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And it's fascinating where if we're ending cycles. And so if we're coming to the end of the precession of the equinoxes, I think that's the right one, like if it's a 25,000 year cycle, but it seems to be there's like 18 cycles ending at the same time, because I can see a correlation in Victoria where it's like 1935 in Germany, you know, where, you know, they're cheering on the police and the government because they're doing the right thing. And it's like, really, I've seen footage of two guys get arrested by the riot squad or anti-terrorist squad, and one just runs in and knees someone in the back, right near in the kidney, and then the guy in the background further down, the
Police
guy
man.
actually the police. He actually uses he rams his gun into the body, but he uses the
point.
You know, when you have a brain fart, barrel.
No,
Yeah.
I've seen that footage, and this is people who have no live ammunition in the gun. If you had any live ammunition in the gun, you wouldn't be using the gun like a stick or like a baseball bat or like it's being used. On top of the fact, if you jab someone's lower vertebrae like that, you can cripple them for life. It was ridiculously irresponsible, but it points to me the fact that there was no live ammunition in the gun, which is good, but because it was being used like a tool, not like a loaded weapon, and it just seemed a little
excessive.
Obtuse. Like,
where was this at? Was this over there in you guys' country somewhere?
Yeah. Melbourne. I'm not sure. We didn't see the police. Like the I think it was two guys. I don't know if they weren't wearing masks or they were supposed protesters. But there was 3 days of mass rioting. Sorry, protests. There was a riot at the CMF MOUSE office, and that was the union members snapping at the union leadership. That's really the only riot violence from protests. Everything else has always been police perpetrated. But after thousands, tens of thousands of people, I'll give a very quick timeline. There's the union riot at the office, and then the government is like, oh, we'll close down the construction industry for 2 weeks. So all these construction workers had nothing to do, so they went to protest because they were referred to as alt-right Nazis. And it's like, you know, when you see 5 Sikh gentlemen with long beards and turbans, it's like, oh, yeah. Clearly they're Hitler's elite. And so there was I estimated maybe 10 to 15,000 people walking around, and the police lost control. On the Wednesday, that was Tuesday, on the Wednesday, we've changed tactics. And those tactics were fire into the protest without warning. And I was watching a live stream where I'm going to give local references. Don't worry about it. There was like the exhibition gardens. There's an exhibition building, really big building. That's where the Australian Parliament started back in 1901. They were walking through the park because they were trying. You see all this footage where, they're all violent protesters. Yeah, and yet you look at the footage, they're always walking away from the police. At least two vans or more stop, drive up to the park, and all these police in riot gear come out with pepper balls and rubber bullets, and they start firing at the protesters without warning. And they did that 3 or 4 times.
That's an open declaration of war. That's an open declaration of war.
It does feel like that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, and that's not that's actually a timing sentence, not a rhetoric. At the end of the day, at 5 o'clock in the evening, the protesters ended up at the Shrine of Remembrance, which is a war memorial to the fallen Australian and New Zealanders Army Corps. It was built after World War One to point out the sacrifice, because I believe New Zealand as well, Australia, New Zealand, all our armies were volunteers. And they ended up there, and to get rid of the protesters, they just started firing into them again. And that's hollow ground. And so the police fired into unarmed civilians on hollow ground, and parts of the community, including the media, blame the protesters for desecrating that war memorial, even though the men that died for that war memorial would be actually invading Victoria to take over the government because of their fascist leanings.
Wow. Yeah. It makes me wonder. I want to ask you that, guys, this, like, you're over there in that country, in that area of the world. Do you think this has anything to do at all with the moves in that theater in China and war footing?
No. Well, yes and no. But I mean, America and China are still butting heads. We have probably our biggest trade partner, and closest trade partners, which would be Asia. And then we have old trade ties with the US, which is still selling us second-grade military surplus gear, and getting us mixed up in deals that aren't really in our best, geographical interests as a country. So we're trying to keep America happy, by buying your old shit. And we're trying to kind of still be a part of the area that we're in, moving forward to the future. The U.S.
You guys enjoyed the nuclear subs there, fellers.
I know, it's like, God.
It's insane. But like I said, I think it's war footing. And it makes me think of the situation going on over here in the United States. So I don't know if it's the same thing over there. I'm going to pose the question: is it the same thing over there as it is with here?
I think it's exactly the same.
Well, off the shores here currently, there's, like, I don't know, probably well over 400 some odd, ships carrying God only knows what, waiting to get into harbor. Are you guys having anything like that happen over there, where ships are being kept from getting into harbor and being,
is that just
more to the ocean?
Yeah, is that just do your supply chains feel impinged on at the moment?
Yes,
I imagine that is an avenue they could squeeze if they wanted to.
That is part and parcel to it, yes. But I'm wondering the other bigger reason behind this, if it's not just that they're not being able to be unloaded, is it possible that the military or whoever is in control of protecting this country here says, "Hey, man, don't let them things come in there, because there could be things in there that we don't want." You know what I mean? Basically, it's multifaceted.
Yeah, right? Why don't you get to it?
Well, who's to say that they're not armed with state-of-the-art military weapon systems from China? And if not that, by God, just flat-out Chinese soldiers. Yeah. See, what was it? China, there about 2 weeks ago, said that they wanted to make ready every vessel that they have, merchant vessel especially, for military wartime. So I'm just,
You think China is going man in the high castle on the US instead of Japan?
But also it could be a massive bluff in a way of creating another Cold War because of the economic side of things. Now, doesn't China own a lot of the US debt? And like So it's
not
very
their
complicated.
interest to destroy the
and
systems that bring them the just the money they're owed. That's all.
You don't kill
like
the golden heifer. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think it was last week's show with Jacko and Taiwan, where I came up with a scenario which I don't know if it's true or not. I just like it, which is the scenario of Taiwan could look like the hero of helping out the Chinese economy, and that's why they're selling a lot. That deal is back on with Australia, and if there's a Cold War, they will spend money on military. They probably don't want to take over the US because how many gun owners in the United States? That's why there's never been
They'd have a problem, I believe.
Yeah, there'll never be a land invasion of the US because it was like, Henry, that guy, get your gun. Yeah, it's like,
I saw a picture of the guy the other day, and he had this shack in the woods, and he had this slightly sloped roof just above his kind of porch, and there's like 300 different types of guns just laid out there, all perfectly on top. It was just beautiful.
I mean, it makes me wonder. I mean, and I know I'm not trying to chip away at any Aussie's pride by no means, but do you feel that? No, man. That's not what it's about.
No.
Is one of the main reasons I want, straightforward, shoot off the hip. Is one of the main reasons you guys find your country in the condition that it is because you've been disarmed?
I don't think we would have. I wouldn't think we would have picked up a gun and started shooting people anyway. I think. I think we need to work towards a solution that's better and something that hasn't been done before.
Well, we're not at that stage yet. And Pony and Cortek, see if you agree. Have you heard anyone actually say, "I wish we had our guns back"? I mean, outside of Australia, a lot of people are saying that. See what happens, you blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, we don't have semi-automatics. There's still weaponry out there. But I haven't seen in groups or just, even someone being angry in the moment, just not the heat of battle, but just, when you get the blood mist because you've read an article. I haven't seen anyone say, I wish I had my gun. And that goes back to the difference between Australia and the United States. Now, I'm not saying you're war hungry. You have the military-industrial complex. They do that by themselves. But Sydney Watson from Blaze TV, just a hint. But there's also, but mainly it's from freedom and self-defense because that's how. I
love it. Because stuff that goes down is pretty cool.
That's how the United States was created. Was you told King George III to stick it, in Australia we filled out a form in a park, and Sydney Watson from Blaze TV, who's lived in Melbourne and is also dual citizen American. She's in Texas now. Feels so much better. The difference between the cultures is. In very basic terms, America is based on freedom, and it's like, well, I want a weapon because we fought off a tyrannical government, and we're not going to let that happen again.
The
but in Australia,
won with that weapon.
We took our freedom and we want to keep it. In Australia, the relationship with government is more about security, and the government's usually like, oh yeah, we'll help out. Now they've gone sicko full globalist tard. It's like, wait a minute. And so that's where there's that. But it's classic division. Across the world, there's a division between people.
Can I say something? I don't feel we've. I think to assume that we've lost something by taking weapons away assumes that we would feel that we gained something by killing someone. And I think the only way forward is to make a model that is. Once people see an idea and see it's possible, then it's possible for everyone. 100 monkeys, and I think there's a better way to do it. And this network that's taken a last stand at the moment and shown every single one of its cards pretty much, apart from Bluebeam. I'm still holding out for that. It's really retro and just it has to end. So
so basically, in Australia, we're not at that point where I wish we had weapons. Usually, we discuss things in the car park and have some fisticuffs. Apart from a firearm being on a policeman, I don't think I can't remember seeing a rifle or a gun in my actual 3D life. I said that on another stream, and 5 Americans gasped. What? It's like,
here's one right now. Here's one on camera. I got 2.
and I'm from my mum's side of the family are all farmers. I'm sure they have a weapon there, but it could be a single shot 303 or whatever, just a basic, even a 22. I heard about 22s, but I never seen one. And so it's the element of it's not. See, I don't want to insult our American cousins,
brothers.
Brothers, because if Americans are all gun nuts, you would have had a revolution by 18. Well, you did have something in 1865, but in the 20th century, at some point, you would have had a revolution, because if you're insane gun nuts and you're all you're all medicated now, but you know what I mean.
People who have guns are super responsible. You're made to be by law these days. You have to, you have to be super responsible, know the rules, and not like be the result of someone's dying.
99.999% of gun owners in the United States I respect, because you haven't gone postal and done a revolution against the government. There's that sort of thing of like, the government's poker, and the gun owners are like, just don't, just calm down, son. Just calm down. Don't, put the stick down. But you know what I mean? It's
that 30-30 hangs there on the wall. It doesn't get up. It doesn't go walking down the street. It doesn't. It just hangs there until it's needed to go harvest meat, or protect and defend yourself against somebody meaning maniacal harm. And that's the thing. Here's another question. Is there any laws against the owning of a sword? Obviously, you can't wield one in public, or probably walk around in public with one. But
I'm pretty sure we
can you own a sword?
I believe so. You may need a piece of paper if you get a traditional sword, but there are a lot of I know a couple of people that have fake ones. They're just ornamental and they're not sharpened, but they could still be used as a weapon. However, a hammer could be used as a weapon. A car definitely could be used as a wepen.
But there is a butter knife, a splork, splade.
Oh, yes, splade. Thank you, because I've been using spork a lot now. I want Spork Man, which apparently is in Toy Story 4. Like, you ripped off an idea, but he can have his sidekick and her name's Splade. I like that. It's Spork and Splade.
He goes.
Yeah, they fight Pedantic Man.
Look, I'm not sure if we should be fighting right here. There's a whole lot of broken glass and stuff around. Any of us could be a victim of just slipping over. And that's not a fair contest.
No, it's not. You got to be honorable.
I found out what knives can be. We can have fixed blade knives, katanas, and samurai swords are a tick.
Ooh.
JW.
Good deal.
But you can't really walk around them in public though, because the police say excuse. Because from my nightclubbing days, some friends actually had umbrellas, but it had a katana handle, and so they would walk around with that. So it does look like a samurai sword, but it's actually an umbrella. Yeah, it's like awesome. But do you want
here in the States?
Unwanted attention.
See, here in the States, I think Texas is the only state you can openly walk around with the sword on. Any other state, and draw some ire from any police officer.
Yeah, well, that's Texas for you.
That's funny. No, it's funny to talk about how maybe laws should have caught up and made that not okay, but I like how it's okay. You know what I mean? I like the fact that the freedom, like that it hasn't been. I like the fact that you can do it, but I don't think it's great that you would, but I like the idea that you could. But now people think that they should just because it's not illegal. Is this how we evolve law?
The old, Civil War type horseman with his sword, not necessarily a samurai sword or machete.
Like your kind of bendy saber kind of thing.
Well, some states here in this country are starting to take away, having to have a permit to carry openly or concealed, which, the way I look at it, sword, firearm, whatever it may be, an armed society is a polite society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if somebody steps out of line, there's somebody there to put that person in check by whatever means need be necessary.
And it's similar in Australia, but it's more about going into the car park and having punch-ons. But it's like, calm, mate. And someone else in the room's like, yeah, calm down.
Two Feathers has just opened the window.
Yeah, Two Feathers has joined us, and he's got the air conditioning on, so he's cool. on many levels. How are you, Senor Feathers?
Hello,
Or can
hello.
Or do I call you two?
That's good. How y'all
have
feeling,
you been
man?
listening? Yeah, good. Have you been listening to the show? And if so, any comments? Or if not, if you've come in blind, any comments?
No. I do have some comments I wanted to get y'all take on. You mentioned that United States owns a majority of the debt to China, right? So
Yeah, that's what I believe. Yeah.
Yes. So I wanted to get you all's take on, if so, let's just go with that scenario for a moment. And if we owe them so much debt, couldn't we give Xi Jinping and the whole country of China the big middle finger and the FU because of the Dominion voting machines that they were found guilty of manufacturing so they could be manipulated? And so the United States could have a $100 million lawsuit against what they've done. So therefore canceling out our debt to China. You see where I'm going with that?
Yes. My
and
first
we can
response
hurt
would be
them financially.
Oh, yeah. My first response would be, unfortunately, the executive branch, the judicial branch, your what is it, 3 or 4 sister levels of government, they're all corrupt. So this, because when I hear you on the Y files, and the one sort of thing is like great ideas, but there's no one to back it up in that respect. There's no one to actually go, we're going to use the law properly and put you in jail for corruption. At the moment, there isn't any sort of force behind it to back up the idea. Like, that makes perfect sense, but it won't happen because of the corruption that's in the system.
Yeah, so they couldn't, therefore, like, in other words, then they can't expect the United States to come forth and have to owe them any kind of debt holdings, you see, to the United States, because, then we could pull that card of the Dominion machine. You see?
Well, actually, now, here's a question for you. Is it actually the United States, or is it the Federal Reserve, which we know is a private company and separate? So if the US government says to the Fed, go away, we don't want you anymore, we default, just walk away, pal, you've done your bit, does that mean the Fed has to deal with China?
Well, I mean, I don't know. The way I look at it is, here, look, you see that big chalkboard or whiteboard, whatever they use these days, or whatever you're familiar with all that scribbling up there? Mm-hmm. Somebody messed up along the way. How about we just grab that eraser down there and erase all that up there, and let's start over from scratch? I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Sounds like some kind of jubilee exercise.
And that's very close to a reset, which is interesting because if done correctly, the planet kind of needs a reset, which is jubilee, which is 5,000 years old from the Jewish or Hebrew culture.
Shemitah, or 7 year. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then 49 or 50 years where you revert back, so you don't have problems like now. And
I reckon we got a good 100 years saved up.
Well, the Fed's 108 years old, and it still hasn't been audited. Nothing sus.
Nothing sus.
Where was it going? Damn it, I can't remember. I've gone blank. Welcome to Planet Collingwood. What?
You see that building over there called Fort Knox? By God, don't let anybody ever open them doors.
Yeah. There's a lot of gold in there. Yes, there is. Can I have a look? No. Right. Get off my lawn.
Well, nothing says guard an empty building like putting every armored regiment there and minefields and everything else, right?
Yeah.
Well, so it's back to the illusion, isn't it?
I remember now. Like there's an awakening going on. A lot of people on the planet are just awakening to the corruption in the political system. Don't get me wrong, that's a very good thing. But you hang out with the galactic historian and you realize you haven't even reached 1% of what's out there. But that's a different show. What they're putting forward, so there's going to be a natural reset because the economy before December 2019, the economy was about to collapse under its own weight because of the corruption and the hedge funds and everything else like that. Just everything was basically falling
and
apart.
The ceiling pushing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's what I wanted to say was the reset. That's what I wanted to give.
I'll set it up and then I'll give you the talking stick. So be careful because you're driving. The people that made it's a classic problem reaction solution. The thing is, I don't think there's been a reaction yet. The people have created the problem and they're just going, oh, here's a solution. It's like, well, hang on. Well, you're the same people that created the problem. There's no reaction. No, you will earn nothing and you'll be happy. The heck we will.
Yeah.
I cleaned that up for the radio
Klaus.
station. Yeah. Klaus, you're not a Bond villain. Hush. Mind you, I would like to get
pointy shoulder pads.
Yeah. German wearing a Japanese. Yeah. But anyway,
this is what we were there at the sex club, you know.
Yeah. I'm sexy. Yeah. Two feathers. Did you have a question about?
Fauci, and there's another guy I put on that list too. They'd all look dashing in a Hugo Boss SS uniform, you know.
Still there.
Well, they would design. You got to give they would design apart from the skulls. They were a pretty well designed uniform. I mean, pure hate, but they look gorgeous. And you want to hear something funny from Rotten Tomatoes that everyone ignores now because it's been manipulated. However, the David Chappelle special called Closer. 33% of the critics like it, and the audience is in the 90s. And then the Fauci documentary, it's 80% of the critics like it, and the audience reaction is 4%.
Has anybody heard anything upon? That's funny.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard anything upon? What is it? COVID Land. Alex Jones has got a new documentary out.
No, not yet. Would that be on band.tv?
Band.video.
I haven't checked it out yet. Go ahead.
I wanted to thank you. I wanted to ask, what is the? It says the 40% or whatever is owed to the individuals and the institutions. So who are the individuals that the majority of the debt is owed to?
Well, see, you're asking the right questions. That's the problem.
You look at all these diagrams of national debt by country, and every some countries 1.79 trillion, 814 billion. And who do we owe this to? And who's playing risk with us again? And why can't we just upturn the board like it's a game of Monopoly?
This is where Project Bluebeam comes into play, and them scary aliens to invade us.
Yeah, I want that to happen. So the real aliens going, excuse me, can you introduce us? Who the hell are these people?
Yeah, exactly. And if there was no other way but to employ some kind of like mercenary contractor alien force, I'm sure that like once they're 5 minutes down here, we'd invite them inside and start partying on. So it'll be fun.
I just want to mention something from the chat room. The mighty Jer Bear, hello Jer, does lovely work on the weekend, like a Herculean thing. Like, I'll just talk on air for 5 hours.
Stalwart of the station, one might
say. 2 days in a row. Can talk for anyway. COVID Land is actually a Walt Disney new attraction. It's coming soon. It's great because once you enter, it's the tunnel. It's your throat, the thing, and attendants cough on you at the start as you go through the throat. It's wonderful.
So
there's a special Victorian section at the end where a policeman beats you up. Anyway, Two Feathers, go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to say that just noting that it shows this 40% being on to the individuals. I did hear at one time, like you're saying, which I'm presuming that from what I heard years ago, that the majority of the debt was owed to China. But then I heard at a later time, right, that the majority of the debt was owed by the United States on their own debt. So I did hear that at a later time. You see
what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, well, they could have bought back the bonds because there's the debt bonds that go around. They could be floating around. Who knows what? Don't mind the man behind the curtain. But what we're seeing is probably 17 curtains. So,
if China,
it's just another curtain.
So if China was to owe, let's just go on the synopsis that China does owe the majority debt. And that's like I said, it's all a political game, but, it is what it is when it came to President Trump losing the presidency because of manipulated vote. You see what I'm saying? Even though it was a hand count or whatever, but still they was going in and manipulating these voting machines, which is supposed to give a definite finite vote from all the right kind of voting, But then when we found out the hard truth, then it was a whole different ball game because of the manipulation.
I do like
the rest of the world's known that the voting machines used in U.S. elections have been bad for the last decade or two. I'm not sure, what it takes to get people to actually sign in and actually you say, this is me, this is my ID. I'm going to sign in with more than a pencil, and then wonder why everything's so skewed. I mean,
it's fascinating.
I'm getting ahead of myself, and it's probably all just a big sham. So,
well, the interesting thing about the United States voting elections and all that is, here in Australia, you actually you say your name, and because you actually register on register. That worked out. What a sentence. You have to be part of the electoral roll, and you register, and you have to prove that who you exist. I don't think they ask for ID. They don't ask for ID, but if you're on the roll, it's a given that you're there. But what I find fascinating with the United States, where you need a piece of paper to go fishing, have a gun, driver's license, a green card, a passport, but voting, that's the honor system. Everything's good.
It is like FIFA not introducing camera refs.
Well, and also like how we controlled the elections over there in Iraq. Remember what they did? Take your thumbprint. Any can put it on this card. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
One
and there's that
great.
And there's that great joke from Get Smart, where Maxwell Smart is like, from Control. That's not you. That's my thumbprint. Oh, okay. And when he showed his ID, makes me laugh.
Mr. By that much.
Yes, yeah, and it took me years when I finally got the joke of, well, the good guys were Control and the bad guys were called Chaos.
So what the second graph shows, it shows that social insurance trust funds, $332 billion are in social insurance trust funds, and the 2,536 billion is the U.S. citizen. So that would show that we own the majority of our debt.
Meaning the people who are imposing the debt are American?
Well, no, actually, it would be the U.S. government, which is representing of the people, but the Federal Reserve, which is a private entity, is probably that's where the debt's owed. So the actual the American people have to pay it to the Federal Reserve, because that's if you want to try and wake people up or hurt their brain, you don't open with baby raping lizard wizards. You lose them. But if you start with the money, as like, well, the Federal Reserve, well, the U.S. government owes them a lot of money. It's like, well, isn't that the same thing? So they owe themselves money? No, because it's a private company, and then their brains blown. Because if the Federal Reserve was the Treasury, why would you owe money to yourself?
And interesting when you talk about how maybe this might talk about international debt, but also talk about international debt owed to countries who lent that debt in a kind of loan sharky kind of way.
Yeah,
sorry,
I like Jack Irons, the actor, said, who do we owe the money to? I think we need another 8 planets to pay it off. It's really weird. It's a massive rabbit hole of just chicanery. Anyway, Two Feathers, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say
top
that
secret programs.
If you look at, if let's just say, for example, if they're dealing in bonds or treasury funds or whatever, that whatever they're dealing with, and all of this is supposed to be worth, depending on the markets, if they get a percentage of each share, which makes interest, right? If it makes interest on it, then what's happening is, it's first of all, it's considered debt, or it could be like a bond holding, which, is obtaining interest. So if it's obtaining interest, that means they're making money on those bonds or treasury bonds or whatever, right? So if they're making interest on all of this, so it's got to be able to say that at some point, just like you would take out, if you were making interest on your stocks, you could take out money from making that money, that extra money on those stocks. So if they're making interest on these treasury bonds or these bonds, these interest bonds or whatever, treasury bonds or what they call them right here, insurance bonds or whatever they put it, you see?
Hey, Two Feathers, I think you got a point there that actually inaction is favorable to people who have their money in stasis like that. You know, this whole nothing happening, slowing down of everything, stopping progress, it just seems governing everything seems to be. Is that a profit zone for people?
I mean, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just commenting on what you were saying.
I was going to just add, what John sort of alluded to it, is secret programs. And let's get, not woo-woo, but let's get theoristic. That's a word? Anyway.
Yeah, just now.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because, like, the Pentagon has lost how much in the last 20 years? Like, September 10th. Oh, we lost $2.3 trillion. What, down the back of a couch? And then 4 years later, oh, we've lost $6.8 trillion. Does your wife like to spend money at Bloomingdale's? What's going on here, people?
It's my cousin. They think they're an accountant, but they never had any trade.
If there's the secret space program, which apparently is 10,000 years ahead of us, where Star Trek looks like Fisher Price, like how can they justify? And all of a sudden, on Monday, the debt ceiling is at $22 trillion. And then on Wednesday, oh, by the way, we have a TARDIS that can travel through space and time. Back to you, Dave. What? Go back. What's going on?
Well, what you said a while ago, the military-industrial complex, there has to be wars for these countries to continue to operate. Halliburton, Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, I mean, you name it. If there's not war, if there's not something to blow up, they can't make all this money over it.
Those countries will operate without them being fed armaments, wars, and ammunition. They'll function fine. The problem is with who's selling it to them over and over, and who's playing risk, and whose idea of what they have to do on this planet in their lifetime is to manipulate countries on a world scale. That is just compensating for something.
That's the scam of you. Instead of having a hot war, you want a cold war where you build up all this infrastructure, and the money spent on military hardware is also a distraction of what else is going on, where debt and manipulation and just raping humanity for a quick buck type deal. Yeah. Because if the military complex pauses for a day, everything else starts to clog up because you need that flow of currency through. And so there's they're skimming on the top and blah, blah, blah. But also it's having a war. It's a distraction from all the other financial fraud that's going on.
Yeah, you see, what making this interest, what I'm going to say, Monty, is you're right that what didn't they owe it to the Fed, which is okay. But the thing is, we can borrow against those bonds. You see, in those we can borrow against all of that, and the insurance bonds and everything. They can borrow against that, but still leave some in the bank as a holding. You see, where they're still making interest on those bonds. But then they could, and then they could pay the Fed like that. But then the majority that way, that because of the interest that they've gained on those bonds, that they've been able to stash enough away per se, right, to where they could pay their own debt down. And even though I don't, where they all of this borrowing and the debt ceiling and it's going to new heights and all this bull crap. That's only because we're borrowing more money, as you noticed, and they want to raise the debt even higher.
Oh, yeah. Basically, we should just default on it because at the end, where the actual buck stops, they're trillionaires and they're just it's about control. We're at the end of the show. This has been Planet Collingwood. I'm Monty Dean. Mechanic, where can people find you? Because you've got a couple of shows here on the station. if he's here. I don't think he's here. Oh, he's not here. Mechanic has a couple of shows on the station, so just go to the schedule, have a look. Mr. Wayne, would you like to share where people can find you?
Yeah, I do a broadcast here every Saturday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, called The Unequivocal Truth, DEFCON 1. Folks, we're in Defense Condition 1. Make no mistake about it. That's where you can catch me right here on Studio A.
Yep, and you can see Cortek in his lounge room. He may go to the kitchen, and I'm sure he visits the bathroom once a day.
Oh, I just went to the bathroom.
Hey, all right. There, he sends postcards. It's really disturbing. Pony, where can people find you? Are you popping around for an after party, or what are you feeling, dude?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so if you want to come back, stay on the line, and for those listeners, hang around and listen to that high-end level of excitement. You'll be able to listen to Cortek and Pony have Two Feathers. You'll be just hanging out in the round tables as one wants.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've been listening, but I do. I've been trying to cover some dead air time after.
Nice.
After Noreen Helpan on Monday.
Oh, yep. Oh, yes, the Olive Branch. Yes, that's where Olive used to, who passed away. Great, a lovely man, and so that was his section. So another host in their making. Excellent. So John and I, we started out, and I helped create a bit of Why Not, and now Two Feathers is taking up the mantle. So I mean, Pony's also been a host. Cortek, you're just letting the team down, mate. Yep, there you go. Thank you very much, everyone. This is Revolution Radio Studio A. Coming up next is the Planet Collingwood After Party with Pony and Cortek, so stick around for that. If you enjoyed the last two shows, please donate to the station to continue on. And if you're on video medium, share this video because I need the likes. I'll see you next week in 6 hours, 6 days, 22 hours. The spoilers fade off into the background and get quieter.